find me now, with grace runs as deep as your scars. You pull me from the clay, set me on a rock, call me by your name, made my heart whole again, lifted up, and my knees know it's all for your glory, that I might stay with more reasons to sing than to fear. You pull me from the clay, set me on a rock, call me by your name, made my heart whole again. Here I stand, high in surrender. I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever. My soul cries out. Once I was broken, you loved my whole heart through. Sin has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds me now. And that grace owns the ground where the grave did. Where my shame remains, left for dead in your wake. You crashed those age-old gates. You left no stone unturned. You stepped out of that grave, shouldered me all the way. Here I stand, I surrender. I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever. My soul cries death has no hold on me, 'cause your grace shows that around.
Well, we have something fun that's coming up soon, and we want you to know about it. That is the Great Pumpkin Bash. Now, we know that churches like to do a lot of events around holidays, and oftentimes it's just for the kids, and this is for the kids, but it's also for all of you who aren't kids anymore in appearance. You're still kids in your heart, and so we've created adult games, but not in the way that you're thinking. We're not that kind of church. We've created some fun games for you who are adults, and the coolest part is if you come and you participate with us and just have some fun, there's a chance that you could win a night out with 3 of your friends to have dinner here in town. We're thinking somewhere like 1961, one of my favorite places in town to have a good meal. So if you come and you show up and you play and you win, then you get to take out 3 of other people in your life that you love the most and just have a good old time having dinner together. So we hope you'll be a part of that. We have Leroy. He left the stage. Him and his son are going to provide the barbecue for us. Anybody ever heard of Blue Dog Barbecue? Yeah? Is that the name of it, correct? Leroy, am I getting that right? Blue Dog Barbecue, right? Yeah. Everywhere they've been, if you haven't been to where they are, everywhere they've been, they pretty much sell out. If you follow him on Instagram, they'll post their menu and it's all marked out, like sold out, sold out, sold out, sold out. So if you come to that event, you make sure you come early because the food will be sold out probably within the first 50 to 60 minutes. So make sure you come and be a part of that and support them and have some good barbecue. Also, I forgot to mention this last night. One of the things that we do as a church is we like to partner with the schools around us. And the first school that really opened their doors to us was Oscar J. Pope Elementary. They're right over here. Yeah, we have some people who are here. And we got to, Kiara got to know the principal, and like, what can we do to support you guys? We're not going to pretend like we know. Only you know what we can do to support you. And so they started giving us ideas. We've provided our breakfast for them. We provide clothes for the students who maybe have an accident at school and don't have extra clothes, so they don't have to sit in the nurse's office all day. They can go back to class. We do that for them, and we've done some other stuff. And the thing that we've done most recently is that we decided, you know what? Teachers and staff need encouragement at schools. They need to know that somebody is for them. And we started something where we ask you to sponsor a teacher by just writing them a note once a month and saying, we believe in you, we appreciate you, we hope that you have a great month this month, and to give them a card maybe to go have coffee. And I think there's like 17 of you in our church who are writing some notes of encouragement to the teachers already. And so Kiara, our kids pastor, went to the school this past week, and she was sticking those note cards into their mail slots, and somebody in the office said, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she told them, and she said, wow, I would love to have that as well. And then about 5 more of them in the office said, we would love to feel encouragement once a month. So I invite you, if you haven't started encouraging a school teacher or school staff, if you haven't done that yet, sign up today just to write them a note and say, we believe in you. Thank you for investing in our kids' lives.
Speaking of a message from your heart, we have been in a series called Choose 4. And when Coy said he was going to call it Choose 4, I didn't really like the order of the words, but I'm an editor, so I don't like 80% of what I read. It's not like a down, it's just a problem I have. So I was thinking, choose 4. Okay, I don't know what that means, but this has been the most, to me, compelling message series that I have experienced here at Somos, and you're shaking your heads because how many of you are sad that it's ending? I am. And so I thought, instead of me just doing one of my messages that I do on the road, that I would try to fall in series and follow Coy's example and create a message that seems to fit the heart of the series, which is kind of illustrated behind me. I want to recap it for you because these words are kind of just dangling here without that, and many of you, it's your first time. So I just wanted to share what this is all about. So we as a church developed to be for others and to build them up in their value and to help people find, even if this church isn't their church, to find what their life purpose is through a relationship with Jesus. So we believe that God is for us, and when we know that God is for us, we grow in our relationship with Jesus, and we begin to live for Jesus. And as we live for Jesus, Jesus begins to enable us and call us to be for others or for Lakeland. And this is why it's so important to us to be in each other's lives and to be doing things in schools and to kind of rethink what church is all about, because it's not this building at all. Church is your body that has been completely consumed by the love of Jesus Christ, if you have wanted to have that. It's always available to you, and that's kind of what's happening for us here. So I wanted to just recap that and invite you into bonus week of the 4 series. Is that cool? Yay for bonus. Okay, so I want you to turn to whoever's sitting next to you, even if you don't know them, and I just want you to say, like, you can be like, come on, man, or you can just say it like I say it. You can say, host, don't ghost, okay? Host, don't ghost. We're going to explain what that means in a little bit, but there's no ghosting. We don't believe in ghosts. Well, actually, I kind of do. I don't know. Sometimes I think ghosts are real, but ghosting is a term that we can talk about in a minute, but we don't want to ghost. We want to be hosts here. And I want to talk today about the type of friend goals we can have that create spaces and conversations that give us this feeling that we're safe enough to do the work of transformation. Now, anybody who's here is probably interested in the work of transformation, or you wouldn't be here. There's really no reason to go to some weird building on US 98 and listen to some random person that you just met talk about something you don't care about, unless you would like to be transformed, right? Like, there's a reason you're here. And honestly, Jesus was, his whole life and ministry, death, resurrection was centered on this idea of transformation, moving from a place of not having what we need to have relationship with God and others to having what we need and to being transformed in that. So I want to talk about this in the kind of context of friendship, because I think friendship is the cheer squad that you need to keep going in your transformation, because honestly, sometimes we get a little bit stuck. Now, I want to just admit something about stuckness. I am not the type of personality who likes to stay anywhere long. It doesn't matter if it's a job. It doesn't matter if it's a church. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know, somehow a marriage, I've loved it. I mean, we're 21 years in. This is cool. But my personality would, I don't know how. I've never in a million years imagined being with anybody else in my entire life. So I feel like God gave me a special chip in my brain that was meant for Coy. But everything else is negotiable. It's weird. And so when we moved to Lakeland from Texas, we're originally from Ohio, I was just on my normal 2.5-year jump around bit. That's just what Brooklyn does. I get bored. It's just who I am. And so we're here, and about 2.5 years rolls around, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do? Does anybody feel this way? Maybe, I don't know. I could literally just choose something today and be bored with it tomorrow. It's a problem. So I'm working on it. It's been developed. I'm in counseling, therapy, all those things. But still, 3 years in, we get a call from Rick Warren in Southern California, recruiting me to work for Saddleback Church in this place. It's southernmost tip of Orange County, San Clemente, where the most amazing waves occur. My husband does like to surf, and I'm thinking, this is how I'm going to sell my disciplined type A, type 1 human husband to travel from Florida to California. I'm going to convince him with the waves. So we go out there. I end up getting a job in a church, in a denomination that women aren't typically invited to even be a part of. So I'm like, whoa, this is God, right? This is totally God, because I'm a female, and this is happening. So I'm there, and it's awesome, and I get offered the job, and I knew in my spirit that I was supposed to stay here, but I was just lured by all of it. And even Coy, he was just thirsty for those waves. I remember that. And he was so thirsty, he agreed with me, even though it was wrong for me to say yes. He said yes, and it wasn't even a day later, he comes to me and he does the leader thing and says, we can't go. And I'm just crying, weeping, what I just told Rick Warren yes, and I'm gonna have to tell him no. And I did. I told him no. And I tell you that to tell you that it's hard for me sometimes to stay when things are tough, when I feel antsy, when I feel vulnerable, when I feel wait, if I stay, then people are gonna start to know me for who I really am, and all my tricks are running out. I hope that the silence is yeah, I get you, not okay. So Jesus was kind of in these types of tough situations where people were forced to either see their opportunity for transformation, or he was in a situation where he was going to have to follow through on the calling of his own life. And these are hard places to be. And we may not feel comfortable saying yes to them, and we may want to run. We may want to just do something else. I will just, to circle back, being in Lakeland and choosing this, we've been here longer than I've ever lived anywhere in my entire life. It's just unreal. And every day I thank God. And I remember when our situation shifted at our previous church, I remember feeling so much peace, like, I guess I'm going to work at Starbucks. That's fine. I felt so rooted for once in my life that I didn't care. We didn't care. We talked about the UPS. I mean, where were we going to work? We didn't even know. We didn't care. And of course, God orchestrated this beautiful community that is, I don't even know how it happened. Honestly, still to this day, it's completely out of my brain. It's an impossible, wild dream that we didn't dream up, but God said, here, give this a shot. And so here we are in these relationships, and I feel like Jesus has been and always will be the ultimate example of what relationships could look like when we're truly for each other, when we truly believe that God is for us. So I want to describe a little bit about Jesus and this example, because if we're looking at Ephesians chapter 5, there's some encouragement in there in chapter 5, verse 1 that says that we should be imitators of God as dearly loved children, and that we should follow this fragrant sacrificial offering that Jesus gives when Jesus follows the example of God. So we're going to go back to that verse, so don't worry, you're not going to miss it. It's going to come up in a little bit. But you and I have this incredible invitation from God to be imitators of God's Son, who came and lived a life and showed us some interesting examples so that we could work through it during our life. So let's start with one interaction that Jesus had with a woman named Martha. It's in the book of Luke, chapter 10, and I've preached on this passage before because I'm obsessed with it, but bear with me. Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42. I'll just go ahead and read it for you and with you. As Jesus and his disciples, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. I just want to stop here. Let's roll back. I just want to stop here and kind of just note the fact that Jesus and his disciples were on their way somewhere. And I imagine the church and kind of how we have it now and kind of how I would like to deconstruct it and change it, because Jesus never went somewhere and then put up a bunch of posters and said, hey, I'm here, come to my party. You can sign up on Facebook, you can get your tickets. I'm here, I'm awesome, come to me. No, Jesus was going into a village and then going into a home, meeting with someone, intentionally walking through the threshold. In fact, I don't even know if there were men there. I don't know if this was something kind of edgy. Jesus never really tended to choose the conventional model. Jesus decided, I'm going to be with people. So Jesus goes, and Martha is there. In verse 39, it says, she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work all by myself? Tell her to help me. Now let's press pause and insert how you would say that. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Are you watching this happen? There's a dishwasher that hasn't been loaded, and there's a whole situation going on with this trash that was supposed to be taken out 2 days ago. And can you see that the water basins where you wash your feet are empty, and I'm going to have to walk myself over there to that well to get water? Are you kidding me? You're just going to sit there and you're going to let her do that? So this is what Martha is doing, and Jesus says, Martha. Anytime someone says your name twice, that's an immediate flag for attention, right? Martha, Martha. The Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed, only one. Now, when Jesus says there's only one of something, I'm paying attention. Only one thing's needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. What my question is what is better? In this story, I really believe that what is better, and what Jesus is showing all of us, that what is better is being in a relationship together, being present, being there, not being distracted, not being worried, but being 100% ready to interact in a relationship. That is what is better. And Mary was sitting there saying, I want to know you. I want to get to know you. I want to ask you questions. I want to be here. And I just want to be here. And I'm actually kind of ignoring everything else that is on my to-do list because you matter so much to me. And I want you to notice this friendship that Jesus has with Mary and Martha because there's some stuff we can learn. I believe that Jesus set the tone of this space with his physical presence. He didn't decide to have a rally and like have a big meeting or have like a giant night of worship. I mean, can you imagine Jesus having a night of worship? Like, I can't, like, and he's just standing there and we're all just like, I just don't even think Jesus would ever want that. I think Jesus would be repelled by that. I think Jesus would be on the floor, chilling, talking about what in the world are you doing? What's wrong? Like, what's happening? Giving you some feedback. You're talking to Jesus, telling everything, going through it all. He's able to listen to multiple conversations at once, but also still be perfectly present with you. I know we can't be that, but I mean, isn't that what he is showing to us? And so he has this strategy that reveals his priority. The strategy isn't a big mass of people. And even when the man is being lowered down through the roof and there's a crowd so big that no one can get through, I don't think Jesus wanted there to be a crowd. I just think people wanted there to be a crowd. And we're impressed by crowds and we think, oh, that Jesus must be really present in that situation because there's a crowd. No, Jesus says, I'll be here if you're here. And it doesn't matter if there's a crowd between me and you. Now that I have given my life and connected with you through the Holy Spirit, I can go with you wherever you go. So a crowd doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is not your clean house or your rules that you follow or the rules that you don't follow or the thing that you did last night and you really are ashamed of it. It doesn't matter. It matters if you're sitting here wondering about how I am and how you are. So I have a question. Has a friend ever helped you learn something surprising about yourself? Anybody? I have a few ideas. I'll just full disclosure, that's my way. Anybody ever asked or just mentioned nicely, hey, your skirt's tucked in your underwear? True story. Right before I got on stage, I was like, thank you. You are a hero. Appreciate you, friend. Have you ever typed something hastily, texted, social media, maybe even a letter? Maybe when you had a typewriter, some of you? You typed it and sent it in the mail, and then you looked back at the little sheet that keeps a copy, and you're like, oh, because you typed something that was really bad. And you didn't mean to. Just, it happened. Anybody? No? Okay, well, since nobody's done that, I'll share a little story. 3 years ago, when Somos Church started, I was the only one doing social media. Actually, I'm still the only one. Somebody come help me. And I was hastily typing something in because I was somewhere. We were doing a water sanitation project in, I think, Indonesia or Turkey or Sri Lanka, one of those places far away. And I think it was plus 12 hours, meaning we're opposite, or it was 9. It was a lot of math. I don't remember. But what I do remember is that when I'm going to bed, you guys are waking up. That's all I knew. So if I wanted to talk to my family, I would call them in the middle of the night, and they would be waking up. So I always had to know, okay, when are the kids waking up? When am I going to sleep? Well, real quick, one of our pastors or leaders had something to share, and it was like this reflection about the ocean and how it's deep and how like you can duck dive under the waves. Like when a big wave is coming over you, you can kind of dive under it, and then the wave will come over and it'll be fine. He didn't say duck dive, but I knew the term because my husband's a surfer, and I'm thinking, oh, we need hashtags. So I start making hashtags like transformation, hashtag blah, 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 and then I'm like, hashtag duck dive. Then I go to bed for 12 hours. Do you know what duck dive autocorrected to? I'm not going to tell you. But it's only one letter wrong. And that was in public for 12 hours because I was sleeping. And it was great sleep. And then I wake up to my phone, like 9,000 texts. Nobody has the password to Facebook. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, what? Well, what? Can you please check the hashtags? And I'm like, my heart starts racing, and I look, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's real. That has been public for 12 hours. It only had like 2,000 views up to that point, so I was like, cool. Pastors, hashtags, awesome. Okay, so this is a friend who said to me, hey, maybe you should just count to 10 before you hit send. And I'm like, oh, that's a new thought. So I've started doing that, but still I'm always having issues with this. Let's get a little more serious. A friend talked with me, this is probably 3 years ago, and I am still doing the work, but feedback about Brooklyn. Sometimes, Brooklyn, you're really hard to make plans with. Really? Really? Am I? The nervous laughter is definitely a yes. So I'm hard to make plans with, and it's not because I'm always busy. I always say, no, I'm always here. I'm always here, silly. I'm here. Like, see, I'm here in Lakeland right now. But that's like me defensively deflecting the fact that I am difficult to make plans with because I say yes to everyone and don't put any of it on the calendar. And I don't do it because I'm actually nervous that if I put you on there, then I'm going to miss something else that might be better. Not better than you, but just what if life throws me an opportunity to like go in a helicopter with, I don't know, J-Lo? I would be like, yeah, and but I have tea with this person, but I love you, but I want to go with J-Lo. Like, this is a mental problem that I have. And someone loved me enough to say, Brooklyn, you're an adult now. I know it's been a little while. You've had some time to practice. But when someone asks you to go get coffee or hang out, you should ask them, it's kind of a cool thing, what day would you like to do that? And I'm like, well, that's kind of up to them. They asked me. And I just get defensive, right? Like, if you want to have coffee with me, then tell me the day and the time. And so it has been a work for me to change my behavior, to be able to say, okay, what time do you want to go? And then they say a time immediately, and I'm like, okay, let me check my calendar. Like, it is actually painful, but I'm learning how to do it. And thankfully, I'm in a friendship where when I don't do it, they don't harass me or say bad things to me. They just love me. Like, hey, Brooklyn, are you here? Like, are you here? Are you here? And sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm not. And most of the time, it's when I'm having the party foul in my brain, it's usually with my family. And I don't want that. So sometimes when people try to help, we feel triggered. We feel trauma from the past, and it may have nothing to do with the person sharing it. We might even make a list of things that they do to make us feel better about the things that we do. Does anybody relate at all? How many of you have a mental negativity list about people? I'm not going to make you raise your hands, but you have them. They're like, well, you did all of these things, so it equals I get to do this thing. That's not good math. That's not even math. That's just being a baby. And I think I've been a baby for a really long time, and I wonder if a lot of us are ready to enter into some mature friendships and relationships that can actually help us grow. And I think Jesus thought that Martha was ready for that. Otherwise, I don't think Jesus would have been like, Martha, 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 what are you doing? Like Jesus was saying in another translation, I'll just read it to you in case we forgot. The master said, Martha, dear Martha, come on, girl, you're fussing far too much and getting yourself worked up over nothing. There's only one thing that's essential here, and Mary's got it going on. So, look at her. She's your sister. If you can't be friends with her, how are you going to be friends with me? I don't even know if Jesus knew, Martha's inner work, what inner thing that Martha was doing, but Jesus immediately decided, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to ignore it. So when this happens to you and to me, what do? Sometimes we feel so defensive and in pain, like someone just saw us, like you feel naked, like someone just pointed you out, and so now you're going to put all your clothes on and some armor too. So instead of inviting support, what do? We ghost the connection. Instead of inviting support, we ghost connection. We say, well, you know what? Don't text me. Or Martha could have totally been acting like that. She could have said, Jesus, can you just leave? Can you go home? Because your presence here is making my domestic life a living hell. Can you imagine her saying that? No, she couldn't say that because in her heart she knew that what mattered more was a connection that could help her grow. So if you're not sure what ghosting is, it's a word that we use on social media because of its existence in our life, because there's people that are real, but they're out there floating around in images and words, and then there are people that are actually real right here in our lives. And so the thing with social media now is that it's possible to be connected with lots and lots and lots of people, even follow them or even be friends with them, and choose in a moment if we would like to just not believe they exist. That's like ghosting someone. So I've hidden your feed. You think we're friends, but I've hidden your feed. I've marked you as that's offensive. You've just all of a sudden the algorithm shifts and you don't have to see any of this anymore. You don't. And it's super easy. And now we've begun, unfortunately, to live our real lives like this. Well, okay, I'm just not going to call you or text you anymore because that was just rude. Why are you telling me what I need to do to grow? Because you don't even know. Have you noticed what's going on in your life? And we just start getting all like excited about all these things when really someone might be saying to us, I love you so much, I'm not going to ignore what's going on with you. It's easier to point out what's wrong with others than to notice when someone's for us, right? It's easier to point out what's wrong in others than to notice when someone's for us. It's almost too good to be true. And I think that's what happened to me when I was considering moving to California, because it was hard to believe that the people of Lakeland really wanted me to stay here. I think the middle schoolers that I was serving, they were the most convincing, but then I would tell myself, but they're just middle schoolers, and they're really, 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 they're really believers right now. You know, middle school, they believe everything times 10. And that's why I like them so much, because they're willing to just go all in. And so I used to say, like, in moments like these, well, they're going to miss me. They don't really need me that much. They don't really like me that much. It's just an exaggeration. And you start to explain away the love that you feel in your life because you don't think that it's possible. It is possible. And I know that it is because you're sitting here. I don't know how any of this is possible without real, genuine love that has not been afraid to have a hard conversation. I have overheard Coy having conversations that I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that we get to have these kind of conversations and still love each other. Isn't that amazing? It's liberating. And so what Jesus did is truly miraculous, gave us a kind of an example of how we can be for each other. Some people will point out opportunities for you to grow in a way that's unhealthy. So I do want to notice and just mention that, because it is good to love some people from a distance. You don't always have to have certain people into your life. You don't always have to give certain people space. But I do believe that God calls us to love everyone, just maybe some more at a distance. Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people who are really for you. And this is how you know when people are for you, and that they might be people that you could trust with your real life stuff. People who are for you tend to stay with you, regardless if your church changes, regardless if your situation changes, regardless if you decided to go like on a 9-month bender doing who knows what. Like, no matter what happens, regardless if you stay married, regardless if you get divorced, regardless if you have an eating disorder or you decided you were going to completely throw your life away, these are the people who stay with you even if. And I can go back and look at all of the moments that Jesus sat with people in their even ifs. Zacchaeus, the Samaritan woman. Let's just go down through the list. 12 disciples. I mean, let's go ahead and get their resumes out. They're not stellar. Jesus was like, I'm going to sit with you because I'm for you. So what did Jesus have to say to Martha? What was Jesus' feedback? Jesus says, you're worried. Only one thing is needed. Only one thing. And that thing is this relationship that we are having that's dynamic and back and forth. Her response could have been a whole lot of get out of here. My response would have been, find someone else to compare with my sister. Maybe some of you have lots of sisters or siblings, and you would just appreciate like not being compared to them anymore. And maybe in her heart, that's what she wanted to say. But the thing that I love about Martha, because she tends to have the bad rap in the story, because she's the one that's flustered, hurried, anxious, freaking out, mad at her sister, something that Martha did that's truly heroic and courageous is this. Martha stayed. She stayed. She stayed right there. She didn't go anywhere. The story doesn't say, yeah, and Martha left. It doesn't say that. It just says she stayed and received the feedback. And maybe she did have a little bit of a banter with Jesus, but that's not the point of the story. There was something going on in her life, and because of his connection to her, he could say something tough. So let's just talk about tough stuff. There are lots of ways for us to identify that we're in a tough place. I'll give you a few words. Sometimes we're drifting, sometimes we're drowning, and sometimes we're distracted. And I know there's a typo back there. You can tell me, you can give me feedback. I did it. It's my fault, not Bruno's. Right? Yeah, drowning, it's new. Sometimes drifting, drowning, distracted. If you imagine your life as an ocean and it's a good ocean where there's a whole ecosystem of life and goodness, sometimes we get out in it though and we are drifting. Like you forgot to triangulate. You forgot that your family put the camp up with the kite and you forgot to look at it. Actually, the kite fell down. Now you don't even know where you are. and you've drifted and you don't know it and you're just having the time of your life. And nothing seems bad except that it's really bad. It's 10 miles away and you accidentally, have 2 toddlers with you. Anybody ever done something like this? Nobody? Just me. Cool. So we're drifting and this happens, and it doesn't just happen on this pretend ocean. It happens in our social media presence. We're just scrolling and it's all good, and then just something in the algorithm comes into our feed and we don't want it to be there, but we just go for it anyway. We click on the profile and then we start scrolling that one and then something else and the friend of that friend, and before you know it, you have drifted to a place that you didn't really want to be. And a friend might sit with you and say, hey, this is the way back. This is the way back. You're not horrible. You're not a monster. You've just drifted a little bit. Or you could be actually drowning, where you're in the ocean and you're fine. You can swim. Everything's cool. But then the rip current takes you and you start to panic and start to freak out. You forget that you know how to swim. Now you're completely drowning and you actually need someone to help you. That's why you're drowning. Like, drowning isn't when you can swim out. Drowning is when you're not able to swim out. And I think sometimes we're actually drowning in our lives, but we think, I got this, I'm good. I mean, I'm only going underwater, like gasping for air, and my lungs are filling up, and it's cool though, I'm good. And I've had friends of mine who are in their 20s come to me and they're like, I'm good, and I know they have negative $2 in their bank account. You are not good. You're not good. Can I please buy your coffee? Quit buying stuff for me. I've had a friend recently who she just kept buying stuff for me. I'm like, I do not need you to buy my lunch. I'm not saying that in a patronizing way, but I want to help you. Let's get a budget together. I want you to enjoy your life. Don't just keep trying to bless me. I want to bless you. Can we take turns? You're drowning. and I know it's hard for you to admit, but you cannot be drowning. You cannot be drowning, but we have to accept the lifeline that someone's throwing at us. Now, they might throw it at us and miss or hit us in the head, but they love us, and you can't run away. And I think that's the difference between friends and not friends, is when someone throws you a lifeline, you stay in it. You don't run. You don't get to that fight or flight place where you're like, see ya, peace, I'm out, bye. And maybe we have felt that way in our relationships and even in our marriages. And I will confess, there have been days when I've just am I good at being married? I don't know if I'm good at being married. I don't know if this is good for him. I don't know if it's good for anybody. I am a mess. And you start this negative spiral. But the moment I tell someone, hey, I'm drowning right now, they remind me who I am. They remind me what I can do. They always say things to me like this, Brooklyn, I know you don't feel good at this right now, but I know who you are, as a whole, historically. And this isn't who you are. So I'm just going to hold a mirror up to the person that I know you are, so that the person you're seeing right now can understand that you're just having a moment. What? Just a moment? It's not the whole definition of my entire life? Or maybe you're distracted. Maybe you've just really had a goal or something you want to focus on, and just something else got in the view. And that is, I'm the queen of distraction, and I'm really trying to chill it out. This Friday is She Grows conference over at First United Methodist Church. This is a conference I started about a year and a half ago in my boredom. I don't know what is wrong with me. So we're doing this, but it's my second to last one because I quit. Koi was sitting at the dinner table, and I just said, hey, I'm so sorry. I created this. I am responsible for this. We did all this work. We've created this amazing conference for women, and it's awesome, and it blesses people. But I have to quit, because I want to be there for my kids. I want to be there for my husband. I've got to stop being addicted to doing and creating. And that's a hard thing to say, but that's something I've recently had to do. And I had to tell her, well, why? Because I've been distracted, Lori, and I love you so much, and we're still friends. And she could receive that and say, I love you too, Brooklyn. And that's cool. What are we going to do as she grows? I mean, we made this thing, and I was like, you can have it. It's a gift. And she is like, really? I'm like, yeah, we made it. Now it's yours. And I don't feel like any loss in that, because our friendship helps me feel okay. And so I wonder if you need a lifeline. If Jesus wasn't willing to ignore the obvious in fear that Martha would disconnect, then maybe we shouldn't be willing to ignore the obvious with each other. Meaning, maybe it's your turn to host a conversation where someone can say something tough to you. And maybe we've been pushing that back because we're not so sure if it's safe enough. So let's just remember that Ephesians 5 encourages us to be imitators of God as dearly loved children. And it says to walk in love, not walk in bitterness, not walk in the past, not walk in what you told me the last time when you were an unhealthy, toxic person. Maybe you've changed. Maybe you've grown. Maybe we have grown. Maybe Jesus has done work in our life. And I love that it says that Jesus gave himself up for us as a fragrant, sacrificial offering to God. Fragrance and sacrificial are two words that just don't seem like they should go together. But it's fragrant because of the beautiful work it requires for you to sacrifice for somebody else. And I think that is our example. So I invite you to be for me. I invite you to be for me, to host conversations, not ghost conversations. I don't want to run away when you tell me, hey, Brooklyn, I've noticed something. When you walk in the church, you don't even look up or say hi. Are you okay? Is everything fine? When people say things like that, I know that we have a relationship because they notice that maybe I haven't been looking up. Maybe I have been overwhelmed. Maybe I haven't really wanted to connect with you because I really don't want to tell anybody a lie. So I'm not talking to you so I don't have to tell the truth. Does anybody else have strategies like this, or am I the only one? I think we all have been there. And so I'm thinking, what if in this whole series we're thinking about all the good we can do for others? Can we maybe entertain the idea that there's some good that could be done for us through conversations with people who love us so much that they're willing to say something tough? So if God is for you, others can be for you too. And you can say, I'm giving you permission. I'm done with the drama. Can you just give yourself permission? I'm done with the drama. Ghosting isn't growing, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to sit here and wonder about what you just said, and maybe I don't have any words to reply right now, but I'm going to wonder about the love that propelled you to say that to me and why it exists. So here's some things you can do. 1, host, don't ghost. Give yourself a chance to have a conversation. 2, believe that you have what it takes to not only host a conversation where someone's giving you feedback, but also have the courage in yourself to be able to give it to someone. You represent a part of God and God's Spirit that no one else on the planet represents. You were created in God's image with unique DNA, a unique personality, and there is no one else in the entire universe that can emulate what you can when God speaks to you and through you. So I hope that you're speaking up to the people you love because there's something only you can say. And it's very, 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 very valuable. And 3, give someone a deep water pass. This is like, hey, Jacob, you have a pass. When you see something in my life, I'm drowning, I'm drifting, I'm distracted, you are allowed to say so. And I will not murder you. Deal? Deal. This is what we can do for each other. And I give deep water passes to my children, to Kira, to Maya, to Koi, but I also give them to you, trusting that you love me, that you really do. And I have learned to love at Somos in a way that I haven't learned it in any other place because I've seen people not give up on each other just because we had porta potties the first week or our parking lot drowned in a swamp. The first few weeks of Somos was a complete disaster. And you kept coming. You didn't run. You just kept coming. And I always thought, well, wow, that's weird. Maybe it's weird because it's what love looks like. And Jesus says, you're not going to look like the world looks. You're going to look pretty freaking weird. And that's okay. So here we are in our mess and in our weirdness. I want you to choose the person. Choose the person that you can host a conversation with and invite them to be for you. I believe that we will see the world around us change as our perspective does. Our lives will be transformed, and we will be moved into an ability to have deep and connected relationships, the kind that remind us that our lives truly have been changed, truly, wonderfully, completely changed by the love of God. So let's pray together, and as we pray, I invite you to reach out to somebody and just physically be like, hey, I'm for you. Before you leave this space, maybe you send someone a text. I'm for you no matter what. I love you. I care about you. My challenge to you today, Koi's going to give you some other homework he did last night and didn't tell me about it, so you get 2 homeworks. Today, I want you to look someone in the eye for longer than 5 seconds. Ugh, awkward. But I just promise it'll change your whole life.